Hello everyone, welcome to this training video. This video is about psychological safety, one of the most important topics, if not the most important topic for the leader of teams. So why does it matter? A few years ago, many years ago, Google did an internal research and they were trying to find what were the qualities of their best performing teams. So this research took many years, and it was nicknamed the Project Aristotle. And what they found out was that there was one common theme between all high performing teams that they had at the time, which was psychological safety. Before I start talking about what psychological safety is, let's see how it feels when there's no psychological safety in your team, in your organization. For starters, one thing is that you're going to have a high level of stress. You're going to be on a flight or fight mode, and you're going to have anxiety at work. You're going to be anxiety in meetings. Even before getting to a meeting, you're going to feel that level of anxiety there. There's a fear of admitting mistakes because there's high repercussions when that happens. So then what happens is that there is a culture of blaming. So people start blaming each other when something went wrong. And because of this culture of blaming, now it's way less likely that team members are going to share their different point of views, come up with ideas. And with less ideas on the table, your decision-making capability suffers a lot, and your ability to innovate is pretty much non-existent. So there is this loop of that comes from having that lack of psychological safety. And yeah, there's no incentive to trying anything new, because if you try something new and it doesn't work, you're also going to be looked down upon. So without psychological safety, you will struggle. And a great way to check if there is no psychological safety is to ask the question, am I struggling? Now, psychological safety is a term created by Harvard professor Amy Edmondson and can be defined as a shared belief that a team is safe for interpersonal risk-taking. So how does that look like? So with psychological safety, I feel comfortable at work. I feel comfortable at meetings, and I can share my opinion. There's no risk involved in disagreeing with a colleague, with raising my concerns, and to just be open to whatever, to share whatever comes to my mind, and to share what comes to my mind with my colleagues. I feel comfortable speaking up. I feel comfortable raising issues. It's okay to speak up. I can bring my whole self at work and I can thrive there. It's okay to admit mistakes. And with that level of sharing, then it comes learning. And when you are allowed to make mistakes, when allowed to take risks, then trying something new is part of the culture. Trying something new and innovating is way more likely to happen than without it. One important point to make is that this is not about being nice. This requires courage. It requires courage to stand up and say, you know what? I don't think this is the best decision. I think we're going the wrong decision right now. And this can be a very difficult conversation, even with psychological safety. So psychological safety is not about being nice. It's about having this environment when these kind of conversations can take place. For example, feedback, giving and receiving feedback. How do you give feedback to your colleague, to your manager, to your leader, without feeling that you're gonna be looked down upon and you're gonna suffer on the next performance review because you called out something that you thought was wrong, or you just gave a feedback for your colleague and for a manager without that fear that something's gonna happen afterwards. So it's not about being nice, it's creating an environment where these kind of difficult conversations can take place. So now that we have an idea what psychological safety is, let's talk about how do we go about starting building psychological safety. So one thing I want to start with is the fact that if you're not intentionally building psychological safety, it's safe to assume there is none. I'm going to repeat that. If you're not intentionally building psychological safety, it's safe to assume there is no psychological safety. So you need to take intentional actions to create. So what can we do? I want to start this discussion with a quote. Last year, I got really into Formula One again, and I got reminded of this one famous driver called Mario Andretti, and he said, "If everything seems under control, you're just not going fast enough." So yeah, we do want to feel under control and take control of things and make sure that we're overseeing everything. But it can only take us so far. In order to aim higher, you need to be learning new things. You need to be taking more risks. And with these risks, it comes mistakes. It doesn't come with a 100% success rate because you're taking risks, because you want to go faster, because you want to go higher. So as a leader, one of the first things you need to do to start creating psychological safety is this growth mindset, is this idea that not everyone is going to be right 100% of the time. It's actually expected that we are going to make mistakes. So a growth mindset removes this fear of failure and it signals to everyone that no one is expected to be correct 100% of the time. Of course, as a leader, you're going to be providing support. You're going to be providing training, mentoring, coaching, because you don't want them to fail. We can now make mistakes and learn from a mistake, but we don't want to keep doing the same mistakes over and over again, right? And a great way to start doing that, a great way to start cultivating a growth mindset is to model vulnerability. And what this means in this case is that as a leader, you model vulnerability by going first. This is when you share your mistakes. This is when you start creating this knowledge that making mistakes is okay, that sharing your learnings is okay. Oh, at the client call yesterday, I didn't handle the client feedback as well as I could have. Oh, at the meeting last week, I think my words were a little bit too harsh. I didn't read the room correctly, and I don't want to do that anymore. So you admit the mistakes that you make, and you start creating that environment that people feel, oh, the leader is sharing that it makes mistakes. So they're going to be okay with people making mistakes as long as they step up and learn from those. And you really celebrate those learnings. Make it part of the culture that when somebody messes up, they step up, they share the mistakes, and they take steps so that those mistakes don't happen again. The third point for start building psychological safety is to facilitate inclusion. So I want to do a quick exercise now. I want you listening there, I want you to close your eyes just for a minute. And I wanted to think about your team and think about each of your team members. Now, I want you to think, I want to ask you, who is the talker in your team? And if you're smiling right now, you know exactly who that person is. You can open your eyes now. So it's very well known in corporate world that it's a world dominated by extroverts. And usually introverts don't feel safe to share their opinions because there's no space for them. So a great leader will facilitate their inclusion. So Judy, what are your thoughts on this topic? Of course, putting them on the spot might not be the best way to get their thoughts. They might not be ready to share their thoughts in an open meeting with many people there. So maybe giving time and space for them to think and write their ideas, or even before the meeting, you let them know that you want everybody's opinion to be heard so that they can get prepared and ready for this kind of idea. But trust me, you want their ideas to be shared. You want them participating and engage in the discussion. The last point for this video for start building psychological safety is something very practical, is addressing the environmental factors. So let's go. There are 4 of them. The first one are resources. Are there resources available for everyone? Or why do they have more than I do? Right? Why does Jack have this brand new chair and one is not so great? Why does the manager have a corner office and I don't? I'm on a crappy cubicle. So these are the things that can be addressed quite easily. Relational. Do all members feel that they feel included, right? Am I the only man in the team? Am I the only woman? Am I a newcomer? And people share jargon that I don't understand. If there are people talking about things and I don't know what they're talking about, I'm not going to feel included. And the third one is identity. Okay, I feel included, but do I need to pretend in order to fit in? Or can I just be myself? Do I have to pretend that I understand all the jargon? Do I have that I know exactly what was discussed, even if I'm a newcomer? Oh, Andre, are you clear about your tasks for next week? Oh, yes. But in fact, I don't really know, and I have to ask others in order to find the answer. And the last one is power. Yes, there's going to be more junior people in the room, more senior people in the room. If I'm a junior and I'm being asked my opinion, yeah, maybe it's not as good or not the right choice compared to the opinion of the expert. But if my opinion is always disregarded for the opinion of the senior engineer, then why am I sharing my opinion to begin with? So if this keeps happening, I'm going to disengage. So this is something that you can manage as well when you are thinking about how to address these environmental factors in order to create psychological safety in your team. So one last point I want to make is on the other side of the coin is that we should not underestimate the power of personal resilience. Because if I'm already on a team that I don't feel safe during the team meetings, there are things still that are things still to be worked on. I'm not going to feel safe. Doesn't matter what my leader does. Doesn't matter that they're trying to do all the steps shown here on the screen. They're not going to feel safe. They might have triggers. They might have had past experiences and traumas that we're not aware of, and they might not be able to get there along with the other team members. So it's very important that each and every one of us also work on our personal resilience. At the same time, it might be difficult to do that by yourself. So if a leader recognizes a team member on that, can help individually help them get to a place where they feel safe. So this is what I had. I want to show you this page that summarizes the discussions today. Is that psychological safety is the foundation of high-performing teams. We defined what psychological safety is, which is a shared belief that a team is safe for interpersonal risk-taking. And we saw why is it important. We saw why does it contribute for a high-performing team. And then we also saw how to start building psychological safety. And we saw that there's no psychological safety unless you're intentionally building it. So you can start taking these steps, cultivating a growth mindset culture in a team, you model vulnerability, and you facilitate inclusion. And also you can address environmental factors that will help create those safety nets for people in your team to start feeling safe. And not to forget the power of personal resilience. So thank you so much for watching this video, this very important topic. So good luck on building psychological safety for your team so that they can achieve amazing results and feel safe and enjoying the process on the way. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.